Amber Leanne Drake. It is so incredible to be connected with you here today. I am a human design catalyst, and I catalyze ambitious women into expansion in all areas of their life, business, and relationships. I primarily do that with human design as well as my deeply intuitive gifts and coaching guidance. So I am going to share with you today about your energy type, strategy, and authority. So you're a projector. You are here on this planet in this vehicle of the energy type, the auric energy of a projector. So we're going to start there. Your auric energy is very focused. It's all absorbing. The way that I see it is it comes out right in front of you. And when you are in a conversation, when you are absorbed in your work, it's all right here. It's right in front of you. You do not see anything else. You really are fully absorbed in the conversation or the work that you are doing. And so projectors have this real ability to have this just focus, but also this ability to be extremely efficient. You are efficient in the way that you guide others, and the way that you see the world is so, it's like when you're in it, you're in this tunnel vision and you're able to just do and create the most incredible things. And for the projector, that aura is really of this lean back, trust energy, even more so than any of the other design types. You are meant to lean back and to wait for the invitation, which is your strategy, and I'll get to that in a moment. But the projector is here to guide. The projector is the new leader of the world. You are stepping into these leadership roles as you are recognized. And the key to the projector is to not be micromanaged, to not find yourself in a position where you are micromanaged, because you will feel extremely bitter, frustrated, pent up. So the aura of the projector is all absorbing. You're going to find yourself doing much better and feel much more comfortable in a one-on-one setting. You're going to find the projectors hanging out at the side of a big group, waiting to be invited into conversation. Or they found one person that they're really like in this conversation with, and it's one-on-one. And when a projector sees you, they see you so deeply. And when you see others, you just are laser focused. The projector makes up about 20 to 23% of the population right now. So there's not a ton of you. The projector is a non-energy type, which there are energy projectors but you don't have a sacral defined. We'll just go with that. You don't have a sacral defined. There are energy projectors because you do have access to other motor centers, but the key player here, the sacral, the big, huge generator motor, is not tuned in for the projector. It's not defined for the projector. So you have an undefined sacral center. It's going to be that square kind of right at the gut of your human design chart. It's going to be open. It's going to be white. That means it's undefined. You do not have that generator motor turned on, cranking tons and tons of energy. So for the projector is meant to work in short, I say bursts, but about 4 hours a day. You're like, whoa. It's possible. I've seen it done, and it has been done so beautifully by some incredible projector women that I follow, and it's a beautiful example of this ability to truly lean into who we're meant to be, right? And the projector really is here to guide us, to show us we can truly have it all. So the projector is built for success. You're not meant to be working, hustling, grinding all day long. You're meant to be a guide, a visionary. I always like to think it's like if you want to hire a CEO, hire a projector. They're guiding, they're visionary, they are like one track mind, chugging ahead in these chunks and bursts while they create teams of humans who are meant to do that deeper, long-term, like work. They're meant to have this visionary guiding work, and then they hire generators and mani-gens to do the daily tasks, the things that take more time, more energy, because you're not an energy type, right? You don't have tons and tons of energy to give all day long. You're meant to lean back and recharge and replenish. I kind of think of projectors as like these beautiful, incredible, like bookworms. And when you see them, you're like, oh, you're like doing what you love and you're in it and you're absorbed in it. But you're replenishing yourself, your soul. Because that energy needs to be there for you to do those 4 hours of work that you're here to be doing, right? So you have this focused and absorbing aura. And your strategy is to wait for the invitation. Now, this is like a real scary one for projectors. We say, wait for the invitation, but I'm supposed to be kind of leaning back. How are people going to see me? And so I tend to find projectors have this overarching tendency to be a little bit more introverted, right? And so it's like, cool, I need to just wait for the invitation. I'm not supposed to be out doing all of the things. So you're like, I'm going to go read that book, right? You still need to be seen in your unique zone of genius. The projector has an incredibly unique zone of genius. And when you tap into this and others see it, it's like they are just drawn to you. And it's like right here, they're right in front of you. They are drawn directly to your absorbing energy. And then you get invited in. And once you're invited in, you get to choose, yes or no, do I pursue this, right? So that's where your authority comes in. That's how your decision making comes in. The way that I see strategy and authority and your energy type is, it's like your energy type is like the kind of vehicle you're in, right? You're in this projector. It's the type of vehicle you are in. And then you have your strategies, how you use the vehicle you're in, right? You're not taking your Porsche Boxster like off-roading or mudding. You're like taking a Jeep to go do that, right? Like, so your projector, your strategy, how you use that vehicle is to wait for the invitation. And it's this beautiful, trusting, lean back energy. It's this leaning back and waiting for that invitation. It's the waiting that can feel really scary, right? We were all raised in this, from my perspective, we were all raised in this very much hustle culture. Go out, get it, make it happen, right? Nike, just go do it. Now you're being asked to literally to wait, to lean back, and to wait until you are seen for your unique zone of genius, and then called into it through an invitation. And pretty much is just a formal invitation. There are kind of like intricacies around the way that you can interpret an invitation. I've heard through projectors that it's like sometimes you can kind of ask for that invite, like you're in the conversation, you're absorbed in the conversation, they're like leaning into it, and it's like, can I propose something? Would this be of benefit? And then once they're invited in, then you can move, right? But until you are formally invited in, you're not meant to move because your energy is so precious, right? So that strategy is to wait for the formal invitation. And then we get into the fun part, right? Our authorities. As a projector, there are a few different authorities that you can have: splenic, emotional, self-projected, mental projected, and then ego projected, right? And so you should know your authority. Please, if you haven't yet, go figure out what your authority is. And that authority is, it's like how you move. It's like the gas pedal in the car, right? You could use your gas pedal at a red light, but you probably shouldn't. Or you could use your gas pedal on green and you start cruising down the road and you're just cruising all the way down Main, hitting every green light, right? So it's like how you actually move the vehicle that you're in. So your authority type is going to be key to when you get that invitation in. Hey, would you like to go to this party with me on Friday night? You've been formally invited, right? How do you decide if it is an alignment for you or not? So if the splenic authority, we'll start there. The splenic authority is from your spleen. Your spleen will be defined. It means that you have this instantaneous insight to deep intuition. And the spleen tends to speak through like fear, the feelings of fear and excitement. Think fight or flight, that like rush. Like you're terrified, but you're excited. You're like, oh, this is terrifying. But I'm like really into it. Spleen tends to whisper in these like butterflies, like, this is exciting, we should do it. Or, oh my God, no, run, like terrified, don't do it, don't go there. That like, oh, in the pit of your stomach, just like intuition, instantaneous. The splenic authority is instantaneous. In the moment I say, hey, do you want to go to this party on Friday night? You're like, nope, my spleen said no. And you can feel it instantaneously. The key to the splenic authority is the fact that it's very quiet. The spleen tends to whisper. It's not very loud. So for the projector with the splenic authority, it's like this tuning in, this consistent tuning into that splenic yes or no. And then the emotional authority. The emotional authority is this emotional roller coaster that is triggered for you as a projector. You get invited in, you're invited to the party on Friday night, and you have an emotional roller coaster that is going to alert you to all of the feelings surrounding both sides of the answer, yes or no. And then once you get to a flat line of this emotional roller coaster, you're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go up, you're going to down, you're going to flat line. When you get to that flat line, that's when you know, yes or no. And you just know. The emotional authority is pretty tricky. I will say it's one of the trickiest ones to really get a feel for, but you have to feel it. The same as the splenic authority, you have to feel it. And once you've felt it, then you just know, right? The emotional authority does not know in the moment. You need time. For all my emotional authority clients, I always recommend starting by tracking your emotional authority. You should track your emotional wave. And you can do this by just having a little like notebook, a journal, check in 3-4 times a day. And just give yourself like high and low, right? I'm plus 10. I'm negative 10. Where am I on the wave? You can kind of jot in there like I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm feeling good, or I'm like really sad, or I'm melancholy. Like put your emotions in there. And the key is to feel and honor the wave on both ends of the spectrum. The emotional wave, those with the emotional wave, I have found tend to love the high. The high feels great. You're like, woo! And then you start cruising down and you're like, put a damper on. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to go into this. I don't want to like dive into it. I don't want to feel the low. So honor the highs and the lows, right? Honor the low as much as the high. And track it. Keep an eye out for your wave. How long does your wave take to move through from all the way from the beginning to I have an answer. I know what's right for me. Because then you'll start to pick up on like, okay, my emotional wave takes me 3 days to really move through, or it takes me a day. So give yourself time and space to make decisions that are aligned for you. Do not rush the emotional wave. Do not rush the process of making a decision. And then the last thing I want to mention about the emotional wave is that you're never going to feel 100% certain. You're going to feel like 85%. I'm pretty sure. But your physical body remembers that you had a low. You decide, yes, I'm going to go to the party, but your physical body's like, all right, about an hour ago, you were not so psyched about the party, and now you're like going? Do we not recall that like happened? Right? So the physical body holds the highs and the lows of your emotional wave, and it knows that you have this like range of like uncertainty. So I think of it like a teeter totter. You're going to hit a certain point and you're just going to like boop, teeter over the edge, right? You're going to like hit that yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Like all of a sudden you're going to hit that 80, 85% certainty and you're going to be like, oh, I'm feeling it, right? So trust that. You do not need to be 100%, oh, yes, I'm all in. You're like, I'm 85% in. Perfect. That's 100% for you. And then we have the more rare authorities of the projector. We have the ego authority, which is just really rare. And this is where you typically with an ego projector, you're going to have a lot of openness in your chart. There's going to be a lot of centers open. And so the most trustworthy way of knowing when you're in alignment is really going to be that heart center. You have your ego center, that little red triangle, the tiny one. It's going to be connected, and instead of being, it's not going to be connected to up to the throat, but to the G center. And that's that yellow center in the middle. And you're going to have this very unique like authority of needing to do whatever you're pulled towards. And again, I love human design for the physicalness of it. You're going to feel it in your physical body. And I can't tell you what it's going to feel like in your physical body. You have to feel it. You have to play with it. So we call human design, it's a divine hypothesis, right? We have this hypothesis that we go out and we test it and we see how it feels in us. So when you're like feeling out your ego, yes or no, aligned or unaligned answer as a projector, you're going to need to like talk it out, vibe it out. You're going to be talking about it. You're going to be talking about it. And it's going to be like, okay, I hear that. I'm feeling that, right? And the trick of mastering this is it's almost like whatever you blurt out, whatever you like start like moving up into that like deep inner knowing is this strong message of yes, this is right for me. So you may or may not, as an ego projector, you may or may not have that throat like defined, but you need to vibe it out. Whether you want to write it out or you want to talk about it, start asking yourself questions like, is this right for me? It's a very self-centered authority, and it's good because for you, if you are in alignment with yourself, whatever you do and create is going to be for the highest good of all. Right? So is this good for me? Is this right for me? Am I excited about this? Do I want to do this? If the answers are all no, the answer is no. You're going to feel this deep inner knowing, and it's all going to be around like, is this beneficial for me? Right? Like, it's not like, oh, is this good for everybody else? No, is this beneficial for me? Very egocentric authority. And again, that's a pretty rare authority, but it does happen. And then the self-projected authority, this is very similar to the ego, where it's actually the G center, right? The G center is your authority. And this G center is like this right under your breastbone, this like deep inner knowing. You may feel like, I don't know, I just know. There's no other way for me to know, but I know, right? Like I just have this like, it's a very subtle, innate, I just know it. And when you know it, you know it. You may need time to like process through, and then all of a sudden that inner knowing is just gonna hit you, right? But it could present differently for you, so you need to practice with it. The best way to really like know what your inner knowing is telling you is to really like talk it out. Again, like the ego authority, talk about it. Start seeing what comes up, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, whoa, I just know what it is. The key with these last three authorities for the projector is that you have a lot of openness, which means you have the ability to be conditioned by those around you relatively easily. My husband is an emotional projector. He has a lot of definition in his chart. So if you were to go to my husband to go talk to him about making a decision, it's very imperative that the ego and the self-projected authority and this last authority, the mental projector, knows that you are there to use someone as a sounding board without necessarily taking advice from them. So if my husband starts interjecting and he's like, this is what I think, and this is what I think, and this is what I think, you're like, whoa, back up, bro. I just need to like talk this out. I just need a sounding board. You don't necessarily need to go to your mom to like ask her like her thoughts on the whole process. You need someone that you can just kind of like bounce things off of. This is very much borrowing from the reflector way of making decisions. Because you have so much openness, it's very key for you to be aware of your openness, understanding your openness. And so if you have this authority, the ego, the self-projected, or the mental, feel free to reach out to me. I have in fact, I will put it in the notes of this YouTube video, a guide on understanding your openness. So you can be aware of the openness that you do hold and possess, because you're going to have a lot of openness to conditioning, to those around you and the energy that is surrounding you. So that's the self-projected, that deep just inner knowing, and then the mental authority, the mental projector. So this is, you've got your head and your ajna center are defined, and typically the throat. So you need to talk through your decisions. And again, it's very similar to the last, just like you just need to talk through it, and all of a sudden you're just going to say something, and you're going to be like, boop, the answer is just going to fall out. And so again, this is pretty rare, but you want to take a note from the reflector of how you make decisions. Is you're not going to other people to really get ideas from them, or like get feedback from them. You're going to them to use them as a sounding board, because when we have a lot of energy in us, we can kind of hold space for you to kind of bounce things off of us. And so you need that like space. And the mental one, I think the more mental projectors I meet, you guys are the people that are just like kind of talking to yourself, and then all of a sudden you're like, boop, got the answer, off I go. And you don't actually like always need a sounding board. You just are like, oh, there it is. Like, you just need to talk about it. And when you hear it, you're like, oh, got it. I hear myself. I heard what I said. I know that that's the right thing for me. And then you move. So those last three are much more rare, but they're really important to know. And something that I always work with my clients on is knowing and sensing your authority. Because the key really is, right, you understand your energy type. You get your strategy, you know how you're supposed to wait for the invitation. And then when you are intimately comfortable with your authority, you are going to start making decisions that are in alignment every time. And the key to that is to knowing when it feels like you're out of alignment. What does it feel like to be in alignment? Right now, you're most likely, if you're watching this video, you're most likely out of alignment, and you're feeling like bitter and pent up and like, right? You're feeling like you're just almost stuck. You're not being seen, you're not being recognized. But in alignment, what does that feel like? And you have to know what that feels like in your physical body. I can't know for you. I know what it feels like for me. I know my authority intimately. I know when my sacral is telling me something, yes, no, do it, don't do it. I can feel it in my physical body. But you must become intimately close and in the awareness of your authority. So start playing with it. Play with it, test it out, take it for a test drive, right? See what happens when you make a decision that's in alignment. You're like, ooh, what does that feel like? See what it feels like when you make a decision that's out of alignment. Ooh, what does that feel like? Right? So I hope that this was helpful and insightful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Amberly Ann Drake on Instagram and Facebook. You can also feel free in the comments below this YouTube video. There is a space for checking out other masterclasses similar to this, as well as diving into a much deeper personalized human design reading if that is something you're interested in. I do personal as well as business human design readings, and I would be absolutely honored to read your human design body graph for you. So reach out if you have any questions. I would love, love, love to hear if this was helpful or supportive for you. Feel free to share, tag me. I would love to hear from you, and I hope you have an incredible, incredible rest of your day.